The JJ McCarthy steam of him starting week 1 is building every single day. And the latest reports from insiders have me going like this.
Ho, ho, ho!
This take is presented by Hokeland Farm. Contact Hokeland Farm at 952-491-1541 and get the best rotationally grazed 100% grass-fed beef, sirloin steaks, T-bone steaks, ground beef, chuck roasts, and more. All are available at Hokeland Farm. Contact them today and get 20% off your first order by mentioning the Minnesota Tim podcast. 952-491-1541. Hokeland Farm. Get great beef in your freezers today. Okay, so as I mentioned, insiders, people that are at Minnesota Vikings practice are discussing the progression of JJ McCarthy through training camp. This first one comes from Paul Allen via KFan, and all of this is coming from the Purple Persuasion Twitter account at TPP Skull on Twitter. This is what Paul Allen had to say. He says, "It's all JJ McCarthy for me, because as I mentioned last week, the nuance and the subtleties of this young man's game are coming together, not hour by hour. It's second by second. He's jumping out of his skin, and that's about the only way to put it." Paul Allen earlier, a few weeks ago, talked about JJ McCarthy sitting his entire rookie season, and he has connections within the Minnesota Vikings organization. He is the voice of the Vikings. He talks to people more than you know. So he's a real legit source inside the Minnesota Vikings organization. He is jumping out of his skin. And I'm just going to share the screen with everybody so that they can follow along with me. All right, this one comes courtesy of Ben Gessling. He is another Minnesota Vikings insider for the Star Tribune. He notes that McCarthy has impressed and he is not overwhelmed by anything. He says, McCarthy has not looked lost. He has not looked overwhelmed really by anything. I mean, he's made some mistakes, certainly. I think just in the way he's managing things. Some of the throws over the middle, some of the ability to kind of process things. I've been impressed. I certainly don't think he is in over his head. But, you know, drills in training camp, especially the 7-on-7 drills, which are built for QBs to read coverages without having a rusher in their face. Okay, that's the report from him. This report comes from Dane. He says, Vikings rookie QB JJ McCarthy has had a strong training camp thus far, and if he continues to stack days like he's had and proves he can play at a high level in preseason games, the momentum could build toward him starting in week 1. And then I look at this report a few weeks ago. Not a few weeks ago. What is the date today? I have no idea. Oh, this one comes from Kevin Seifert and Matthew Collar via their podcast, Purple Insider. They gave a percentage chance of JJ McCarthy starting week 1, and Seifert gave him a 5% chance. He says, have more data. The more data you have, the better your answer is. And Collar gave him a 25% chance. He says, I could always see a world where it clicks, and when they just say, you know what, why bother playing a bridge quarterback when our guy is ready? That he goes out in preseason and looks great, where he's in total control. So lots of fun and intriguing reports coming out about JJ McCarthy within the last few days. And, you know, throughout the entire offseason when the Minnesota Vikings drafted JJ McCarthy, I've been on the bandwagon that JJ McCarthy will not start week 1. You look at the slate of games coming up in the first 5 weeks of the season, and why rush it? Why put him out there versus the 49ers, the Texans, the Jets, the Packers after the New York Giants game in week 1? Do you really want to put your rookie quarterback in that situation? And at the same time, my mind goes towards you're playing in the NFL. You're not going to have a cakewalk of games every single week. You're not going to throw out a rookie quarterback versus a crappy team every week. He's got to face pressure. He's got to face the best teams in the league. So at the same time, it's like, okay, what do you want? You got to throw him out there eventually. You can't protect the kid forever. So throw him out there, give him a chance, see what he can do versus the best teams in the league. So it's really this give take with the first 5 weeks of the season, because it's like at one point you don't want to start him versus those tough teams. At the second point, it's like it's the NFL, baby. You've got to start him eventually. He's going to play against these best teams eventually. So just screw it, let him rip, throw him out there. But they brought in Sam Darnold to be the bridge quarterback. And this is the best situation Sam Darnold has ever been in his entire career. But if JJ McCarthy looks better than him in training camp, how do you not throw him out there? If you want the best chance to win, which Kevin O'Connell has stated multiple times this offseason, if JJ McCarthy does that for your team, how do you not throw him out there? Now, the fact that Ben Gessling reported that JJ McCarthy does not look overwhelmed by anything. This goes back to a few things. This goes back to McCarthy's passion and love for the game, his attitude towards football, because the amount of time the kid has spent in Eagan, the guy has been at the facility even when players were going back home. And you think about Lewis Seen, who has been in the NFL for 3 years, something like that, doesn't matter. And they talk about how he still does not have a grasp on the Minnesota Vikings playbook. He doesn't know what he's doing out there defensively. And this is a guy that played safety for the Georgia Bulldogs. Like, how? And, he had the broken leg his rookie season, but everyone has said that that isn't a hindrance anymore to him. He still doesn't have it figured out. JJ McCarthy, a few weeks into training camp, has the offense figured out. He's calling plays in the huddle according to reports without struggling to get through the words. And these are like 15-play words. You ever hear a retired quarterback talk about the plays after their career and they name one? It's like, oh my gosh, it's like double bridge, cross slat, race 1, 5, 7, 8, 9, 12 on 2. It's like, and then they're given the backup play too in case they need to go into an audible. So it's a testament to the guy's passion and love for the game. It's a testament to his smarts. I always thought JJ McCarthy was a smart quarterback, and I believe that he will not be a bust. It's impossible for him to be a bust because of how smart of a quarterback that he is. I believe that's going to be his greatest skill set in the NFL, and that is a very good thing. You got the arm strength, you got the accuracy, but his mental edge over opposing teams, I think, is going to be the most important skill that he brings to the NFL. Now, will JJ McCarthy start week 1? It sure seems like the momentum is building towards that, and it certainly seems like all the reporters. Now, we're only getting one side of this report. I'm not seeing any Sam Darnold things, which I'm sure they've said things about Sam Darnold, and the Minnesota Vikings fan base wants JJ McCarthy to start. So all we're going to hear is good things about JJ McCarthy for the most part. But at the same time, the momentum is building, and this guy is showcasing his talents in Minnesota Vikings training camp. So I would not be surprised anymore. I would not be surprised at all if JJ McCarthy became the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings in week 1, especially after the preseason. If McCarthy goes out there versus the Raiders when there's a legit defense, legit players trying to make the squad, and he goes out there and torches them and does that in week 2 and in week 3, okay, just give the kid the job. You've got to do it. Like, what are you waiting for? I believe that if McCarthy goes out there and does it, then you've got to give him QB1. So that's my takeaway from these reports. It's an exciting time to be a Minnesota Vikings fan. All of my podcasts in the last week have been about JJ McCarthy because he's the most exciting player on the Minnesota Vikings. Everyone wants to talk about him. Everyone wants to do reports on him. Everyone wants to think about him, put pictures of their wall on him. And that's the take. All right, everyone, thank you for watching and for listening. Hit that subscribe button and follow button if you haven't already. And thank you for making this podcast a part of your day.